Hey everyone, welcome to Finance with Noah. And if you're new here, this is where we break down money, wealth, and the truth about personal finance.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me once again. Today, we'll be looking at why budgeting doesn't work and what to do instead. What should you do instead? Now, you have to understand that spending is deeply emotional and is tied to your habits. And that's why it's important for us to address the issue of spending. So, I'll be focusing more on spending in this video. Also, you have to understand that budget feels like punishment for a lot of people. And that is why it doesn't work because it feels like punishment. So, what do you have to do instead? And that's what this video is going to be about. So here is why budgeting fails, or why budgeting always feel often hard to stick to. Number one, restrictive nature. It is rigid. So they tell you that your budget, you should do 50, 30, 20% rule. And it is rigid, and you also want to fix it like that. Oh, let me put 50% in my in this, let me put 30% in this, let me put 20% in this. And then you are trying to struggle to balance it up. You are trying to struggle to make it work. So that's one of the reasons why budgeting fails. Now, the next one is unrealistic expectation. Ignoring irregular expenses like your car repairs, like your medical bills. Now, your car doesn't break down every time. So, because it doesn't break down every time, you forget to add it as part of some expenses that will come. So, and because of that, you plan your life based on the normal things you used to do every month without you putting into account irregular expenses. Those are unrealistic expectations. Another thing is you don't look at your fluctuating income. You are working now. What if your work stops tomorrow? Or what if the type of job is the one that when you have it now, you work and then after some times you look for the next work, you look for the next contract? What if you don't have a work or you don't have a contract in the next 2 to 3 months? So there might be fluctuating incomes. Or even if you have regular incomes, but those incomes are not the same. Today is 100,000, tomorrow is 200,000, next tomorrow is 50, next month is 50,000. So you want to put all those things also into account. And that is why budgeting feels hard for some people because they set unrealistic expectation. Everything that needs that needs to be put into consideration has not been properly put into consideration. And that is what led to frustrations. And that is why they derail from their budgeting. And that's why it feels so hard for them to keep to the budget. Another thing is lack of automation. You see, when it comes to budgeting, if you want it to work, you have to understand that manual tracking can be cumbersome and it can be prone to error. So when you lack automation, you say you want to budget, then everything have to be automated. And there are some apps that can help you automate your systems. We'll be talking about that. Then another one is emotional spending. And you know, we as human beings, we are emotional beings. And you cannot cut away spending from our life. So if you are an emotional spender, I'm not blaming you. I'm not condemning you because we are human beings and we are prone to do that. But what do we need to do? So budget often fail to account for emotional triggers like stress, social pressure, or the desire for instant gratification, which drive unplanned purchases. So in your planning, or the reason why people actually fail with budgeting is because they did not consider their emotional spending habits. They do not put that into consideration. And I'll be talking about what you have to do instead. Another thing is one size fits all approach. So because your gurus told you you must keep 50% for your need, 30% for your want, 20% for your savings. That's a smart rule actually. It's a smart way to go about it. But it's not a one size fits all rule. It is so rigid that people want to keep to that. Oh, my advisor told me I should keep 50% for my needs, 30% for my wants, 20% for my savings, and I'm trying to keep up to that. You should know the rule is not a one size fits all rule. It is actually a flexible rule, and I'll be talking to you about what you have to do. So don't adapt to individual circumstances such as irregular income. Now, this one size fits all rule does not account for irregular incomes or unique financial goals. Then another one is lack of immediate rewards. That's another reason why budgeting feels so hard. Lack of immediate reward, because when you are budgeting, the reward doesn't come instantly. So sticking to a budget requires delayed gratification. So let's quickly look at the hidden psychological problems behind budgeting. When you budget, what are some of the problems that you can encounter? First, one of the psychological problems you're going to have is loss of aversion. So when you cut back on spending, it's going to feel like loss. You that used to spend anyhow before, now because you are budgeting, you've budgeted and you are trying to keep to your budget, then you start to refrain yourself from spending and you begin to feel as if you lose. It is psychologically painful and it's promoting resistance to budget. And that's why after some time, some people just feel like, "Mm, I don't think I can keep up with this." Another one is willpower depletion. Now, sticking to the budget requires constant self-control, which depletes over time. Because you have to control yourself from spending, you have to stop yourself from spending. So because of that, sometimes when you are under stress or decision fatigue, you just derail from it and your willpower starts to deplete. Another one is social influence, peer pressure, societal expectations, keeping up with trends. All these things can override budget constraints as people seek belongings or status. Now let's talk about the smarter ways, flexible alternative to budgeting. Now these are the solutions. The first one I will talk about is the Pareto budgeting, which is the 80%, 80-20 rule. Okay, and this is what that says. One of the rules is you have to allocate 20% of income to savings and debt repayment first. Your 20% is going to both savings and if you are indebted, debt repayment. And those are the two things you want to do first. Then spend the remaining 80% freely. Now you can see the flexibility in this. Instead of the 50-30-20% rule, here just 20% for your savings and your debt repayment. Then the remaining 80% spend it as you want. So this is not sticking you to a particular percentage. Just telling whatsoever is left, you are going to spend it as you want. And you see that 20%, if you can just automate it, immediately your money comes, it leaves your account immediately. Then the remaining 80% is what is available for you. So no matter how you spend, you will still be within the range of your 80% before the next month. So you have to prioritize that. Number two, cash flow management. Cash flow management. So it focuses on maintaining a positive cash flow. Your income and expenses, make sure it's positive. That means what is coming in for you every month, your expenses is less than that, or what is coming for you is more than your expenses. In as much as what is coming in is more than what is going out, which is your expenses, then you are good to go. So rather than strict categories, track only key metrics like total monthly spending and savings. Just look, how much is my spending, how much is my savings, how much is coming in, how much do I spend out of it, how much do I save. That's the key metrics. And as much as you are able to focus on that, then you are good to go. So you are focusing on your cash flow management. Okay. Number three, we want to look at value-based spending. So you have to align spending with personal values. What is your personal values? Do you prioritize your family, your health, your experiences? Okay. So those priorities, those things you value, those are the things you should spend on. So you cut ruthlessly low priority areas like subscriptions you rarely use. Some people do subscriptions for cable TVs and they rarely use it. Why are you doing the subscription? Some people, they already have 2-3 shoes, but they like shoes. So you have a black shoe, you have a red shoe, you have a white shoe, and now you are looking at a green shoe. You see, those are wants. Those are not value-based spendings. So cut away on subscriptions you don't use, cut away on wants that you don't, those things you don't need, cut away on them. Now I want to introduce you to what we call the envelope system. Now this is another solution. You have to use what we call the envelope system. And the envelope system is by you creating a different account for your spending. So allocate this amount for discretionary spending like dining, entertainment in cash or digital envelopes. It can be digital, it can be in cash, but I would prefer you do it in digital form. So you have a separate account or you have a separate app where you put in money. It is being enveloped inside that account. You have that money there and that money is for spending like dining out, going out and eating out, entertainment. You specifically portion that money there. So another one I will talk about, which is number 5, is automated savings and bills. And I've already talked about this. Your savings should be automated. If you know you really want to be serious with this and you don't want to tamper with the money, that 20% I told you about, make sure it is automated. As it's entering your account, automatically is going out. Okay, for your savings, for your investment, for your bill payment, make sure it is automated. It removes temptation by prioritizing goals first, reducing reliance on willpower. Number 6 is plan for irregular expenses. Set aside small amount monthly for predictable but irregular costs, like your holidays, like car maintenance in dedicated account. Why does it work? Because prevent budget derailing from unexpected expenses, offering peace of mind. Also, I want to talk about weekly spending reviews. Do your reviews weekly so that you can adjust your habits and catch issues early without micromanaging. Instead of you waiting to the end of the month before you know how much is my spending, how much is my expenses, how much do I make. Every week, do your analysis. Review your spending every week. So that if you are overspending, you quickly know, oh, it's like I'm overspending. I've already overspent this week. Then the remaining 3 weeks, I need to reduce my spending. By doing that weekly review, it's going to help you more. So let's look at some considerations. So when it comes to budgeting, budget must be flexible. And that is why it's different from the normal, traditional, rigid one you know about, that your gurus told you about. It must be flexible. So its approach should adapt to changing circumstances. There are circumstances that change. So when you are doing your budget, it should align towards changing circumstances. Number two is awareness. Understanding spending habit is key. You must know your spending habit. Be aware of your spending habit. Understand your spending habit. Very important. Align with goals. Make sure that the budget you are doing, your financial strategy, should support your personal objective. What is your goal? What are you driving at? Make sure that it aligns with your goals. Another one is simplicity. It must be simple. And that's why I say automate your system. If it's automated, you don't need to think about it. You don't need to think about it. You don't need to think. So simpler system might be more sustainable. But if you make it complex, in fact, that complexity alone can make you to be stressed out and forget about budgeting. So the aim is to find financial management approach that fits individual lifestyles and promotes sustainable financial health. So budget is about control. But control without freedom never lasts. And that's why budgeting never works. Because when you have control of your money, of your spending, but you don't have the freedom it is supposed to bring, that is where people actually start to feel frustrated and they forget about their budget. So, but control without freedom never lasts. So, a money system that adapts to your life is far more powerful than a budget that feels like punishment.
If you have a different opinion, drop it in the comment section below. Kindly like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. Thank you.